السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مرحبا بالجميع وتحية طيبة وخاصة لمتابعي قناتي من طلبة الثاني عشر بسلطنة عمان. عدنا لكم بفيديو جديد نقدم فيه شرح مفصل في الإجابة عن سؤال جرامر في الامتحان النهائي. سنقوم بالتركيز على 4 قواعد أساسية والتي ستمكنكم بإذن الله من الإجابة عن هذا السؤال بكل سهولة. لإثبات مدى نجاعة هذه القواعد اخترنا لكم أكثر من نموذج، منها امتحان نهائي وآخر تجريبي للسنة الماضية، بالإضافة إلى امتحان تجريبي للفصل الثاني من هذه السنة. بدون إطالة تابعوا الفيديو إلى النهاية ولا تنسوا دعم القناة بالاشتراك وتفعيل الجرس. Let's start with mock exam of the academic year 2021. I'd like you to focus on how the use of present perfect, WH words in addition to verb patterns as well as conditional sentences are the most commonly used grammar rules in this task. That's why I'm going to provide you with a quick explanation of the 4 rules before doing the task. When it comes to conversations, the present perfect is very commonly used, and you should pay attention to who's speaking in the dialogue before choosing the auxiliary has, hasn't if the speaker is he, she, it, or have, haven't if the speaker is I, you, we, or they, plus the past participle which goes with both groups. In other words, it doesn't matter who's speaking, the past participle is always the same. Let me remind you of the different past participle groups. First of all, if the verb is regular, the past participle is exactly the same as the past simple form. In this case, the best option after the auxiliary is always with ed. As for the irregular verbs, such as lose, make, sleep, buy, send, the past participle is also the same as the past simple form, but this time it's not with ed. Again, the best choice in this case must be lost, not lose, made, not make, slept, bought, and sent. However, if you find one of these verbs such as break, speak, steal, eat, take, to mention but few, the past participle is different from both the infinitive and the past simple form. In this case, the best choice is one which ends in en, like in broken, spoken, stolen, eaten, and taken. One thing I'd like to draw your attention to is the use of this tense in reported speech. So instead of has or have, we use had before the past participle, simply because it is preceded by another reporting verb to say in the past. Using a verb after another one is also used very often in this type of tasks. For example, after verbs such as want, agree, would like, manage, plan, hope, and decide, to mention but few, we definitely choose to plus verb. The same form to plus verb is used after expressions like it's easy, it's difficult, it's time. Some other verbs such as make and let, however, must be followed by a verb without to. For example, we say let me go and not let me to go. Make him do and not make him to do. In the same way, verbs that come right after the modals can, could, may, might, should, must, and will must be without to, like in I can speak Spanish and you must stop smoking. Another group of verbs including enjoy, love, hate, like, imagine, practice, in addition to the common expressions don't mind and can't stand. All of these must be followed by a verb ing. I'll give you a couple of examples. I enjoy reading books. You can clearly notice how the verb read is transformed into ing word, simply because it is preceded by the verb enjoy. Another example. I can't stand waiting, which simply means I hate waiting. With verbs such as begin, continue, and start, it doesn't matter if you use verb ing or to plus infinitive, but you need to pay special attention to the usage of stop, remember, and forget, as the choice of the verb form depends on the meaning of the sentence. Let's take an example with the verb stop. If I say, he stopped smoking 10 years ago, this means he's not smoking anymore. But if I say, he stopped to smoke, This means he stopped doing something else like driving or working in order to smoke. That's how the meaning is different from the first one. Let's move on to rule number 3. Now I'd like you to keep focused as the following rules of conditional sentences are extremely important. As for rule number 1, starts with if followed by present tense verb. And this is the condition. The second part of this sentence must include will plus infinitive verb. Have a look at this example. If you study hard, you will succeed. The sentence simply means success will be possible only if you study hard now. Otherwise, this will not happen, and the sentence in the negative form would be if you don't study hard, you will not, or the short form, won't succeed. As for conditional type 2, it's about unreal present. In other words, we just imagine a situation which is not possible or true now. That's why the verb that follows the word if must be in the past, not the present. As for the result, instead of using will, it is obligatory to use would, followed by an infinitive. If I had a helicopter, I would travel around the world. This sentence means that I don't really have a helicopter, and I'm just imagining how I would be able to travel around the world if ever I had one. Revising how WH words are used in this grammar task is not of less importance. Usually answers to WH questions tell us about which question word to choose. It can refer to things in general using the question word what, to a person using who, to a time using when, to a place using where, to a reason using why. You should also know how other questions can start with how many to ask about a number, with how much to ask about price or quantity, with how long to ask about the period of time, how old to ask about age, and how far to ask about distance. Now it should be much easier to answer the grammar question. Let's start with an example from mock exam 2021. As usual, we have a dialogue between two speakers, A and B. Starting with speaker A, he says, "Excuse me, have you been to the bookshop recently?" You notice this is a question using the present perfect, and we need to choose has or have. Have a look at the rule again. It's definitely have. Let's move on. Speaker B asks a question. Is there anything in you? If we relate this to the reply of speaker A, who says, "Oh yes, the latest book on Oman has just arrived, and I know you want to get it," it's clear the answer is given a reason, so the correct option is why. In the next sentence, you have to choose either by or but. This is again about the present perfect simple, using a specific adverb already that indicates this tense. So what comes after have must be past participle, but. Great. The following sentence you need to choose the right form of the verb that comes after to. Let me remind you that the verb want is always followed by to plus verb without s. So the correct option is show. If we look at the last sentence of this conversation, we notice that we have a conditional sentence starting with if and followed by a present verb have. So the best option in the second part, which is the result, is will. Hope you found this easy. If not, don't worry. We'll do more practice this time with an example of grammar question from end of year exam 2021. At first glance, we notice again the same structure of the present perfect, starting with have you. So do we say have you submit or submitted? Of course we choose submitted, as the past participle of this regular verb must end in ed. Mazen replies by saying, "My laptop is destroyed. I need to buy a new one." Is it correct to say, "But I don't have enough money," or "So I don't have enough money"? The second one doesn't make sense, as it's not about a result. It's rather about something that Mazen didn't like or expect. So we choose but. The following sentence is a bit tricky one. We have if and unless, which means if not. Simply, when the verb is in the negative form, we use if. But in case the verb is in affirmative, we use unless. In this example, if is the correct option. And with unless, the sentence would be, you can buy a used car unless you have enough money. In the next example, we have a question. So we need to go ahead in the conversation and check what the answer is about. In this case, we have the expressions cost and 150 Omani Riyal, which refer to the price of a used laptop. So the correct option is definitely much. And the question becomes, how much does that cost? In conversations, when we refer to a specific time with expressions like last month, the verb must be in the past form. In this case, will buy refers to the future, so the right answer is bought. Let's finish up with another example of another mock exam of Semester 2, 2022. Let's try to do it more quickly. Number 1. Have you or has you? I guess you got used to it, so the answer is definitely have. Number 2. To choose must or need, we should look at the form of the verb that comes right after them. As for must, we can only use a verb without to. In this example, we have the verb to paint, so the right answer is need. In the next sentence, we deal with the common expression used to, that refers to past habits. So the right answer is to. Never use for after used. Pay attention to adjectives ending in ed and ing, as you need to know what the adjective is really describing, someone's feeling or something that caused that feeling. In this case, the example is about the color, gray, that sounds terribly depressing. This means that the color makes us depressed, but the color itself is depressing. Once again, we have an if clause that is about conditional sentence type 1 that talks about a possible result in the present or future. So the right answer is will. This is the end of this grammar review. Get ready for exams and make the most of it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.